Dear Vyacheslav, the event is so. Glory to Ukraine. Hope you get new knowledge, and here is the event. Thank you, Ruslan, for wonderful wishes and for the highlighting of the importance of the development of the culture of mediation in the current education and in the universities. I hope that in the future our university will be a reliable promoter for the mediation not only in Ukraine but far beyond Ukraine. Now I'd like to give the floor for opening remarks to one of the co-organizers of today's event, because our event is in hybrid format, online and offline. Dear Luiza Romanadze, the president of the Ukrainian Academy of Mediation and the manager, team leader of EU Consent project, and she works in Southampton University in Great Britain, and the person who inspires the development of mediation in Ukraine. Dear Luiza, the floor is yours. Thank you, dear Ruslana. Actually, I'd like to welcome everyone because we have very, very intense agenda. I don't know whether you can hear me now. I hope everything is great. Okay, you can hear me. That's good news. And we have a very, very active agenda. I'm especially grateful to the co-organizers because you can see from the agenda how many universities and organizations have joined their efforts to have an opportunity to finally discuss in depth everything that has to do with mediation and universities, possible collaborations, some competencies. You can see the agenda. I will not spend extra time right now, so I'd like to give the floor to the speakers, and I wish that we will have a very active event today, and I'm very grateful to everyone who has joined today. Thank you. Thank you so much, dear Luiza, for your support, for your moral support, for your intellectual support and material support in holding this conference. And we sincerely hope that at the next Scientific and Practical Conference, Universities and Mediation 2.0 will have only offline, and we'll invite our international guests here to Ukraine, to free and safe Ukraine. Now I'd like to give the floor for welcome remarks the co-organizer of today's event, the team leader of EU Project Pravo-Justice. EU Project Pravo-Justice facilitates the development of the rule of law in Ukraine and making sure that Ukrainian system is brought in congruence with the best European practices. Dear Oksana, the floor is yours. Thank you so much, dear Ruslana. Good morning, dear colleagues, guests, and attendees of this conference. It is a pleasure for me to be here to deliver welcome remarks at this conference. It's a very good event, and it's a very good thing that we have such a combination of universities and mediation, and that is a wonderful opportunity to discuss mediation in education, because education is that key element that we need in teaching different specialists and different people from different program subject areas. I'd like to say that mediation is not just a tool for the professional development of lawyers, and today we'll see that mediation is important for every one of us independently of our profession, because the skills to settle conflicts are necessary in every area of our life, whether we are social workers, managers, psychologists, or just people, just common citizens who are responsible, because the skills of mediation help build the cooperation and respect in our society. That's why it's very important to build these competences at the level of obtaining education, because they form the basis for the harmonious coexistence in our country. On our part, EU Project Pravo-Justice has its pleasure in seeing such initiatives from the universities in developing the different elements of mediation services for lawyers that helps the students to gain special skills how to manage conflicts. That is a very important element that helps build a culture of dialogue in our society. We are very happy to have this proactive approach that is just developing and developing. EU project Pravo-Justice has been supporting the initiatives aimed at the conciliation of disputes, and I hope that it is going to be a priority for us, for the colleagues from the European Union too, because especially right now, it is a very important contribution into the process of European integration, because the culture of the peaceful settlement of disputes is an integral part of European values that we all try to integrate in the day-to-day life of our citizens. Again, I'd like to thank all the co-organizers, the universities that are that proactive and that made it possible to have today's conference happen. And this platform for the exchange of experience is very inspiring, and it gives new ideas that we can implement, and that is a very pleasant thing to see. I also hope that this conference will become a very solid tradition that will have not just 1.0, but will go far beyond, and that will support mediation as a tool for the dialogue in the society. I wish everyone to have a fruitful cooperation, and it's a pleasure for me to have a look at this agenda, and I'm very happy to hear to be able to hear these speeches. That's very interesting what the speakers are going to be speaking about. Thank you so much for everything. And let everyone have a peaceful day. Thank you so much, dear Oksana, for your welcome remarks and wishes to the organization attendees, and for your solid support for over 5 years in promoting mediation in Ukraine. Thank you so much. Dear colleagues, the co-organizers of the conference are also here. A number of universities served as the co-organizers. Lviv Trade and Economy in University, National University of Kyiv, Mahila Academy, Western University, National and Technical Polytechnic Institute of Ukraine, named after Sikorsky, Southampton, and Virginia Tech. NGOs, legal associations, National Association of Mediators of Ukraine, Association of Ukrainian Bar Association of Ukraine, and Commercial Mediation Group. Thank you so much, dear colleagues. We are almost going according to the timing, and now we can have the plenary session. Yes, indeed, we are following the timing. It was our conscious effort that we're not going to have a huge welcome remarks part when each co-organizer, you can see that we have a lot of co-organizers. We made sure that only some of them spoke in this opening part of the conference. But in order to be able to hear more on the essence, we decided to organize it like that. Now let's go to the plenary part. We have a hybrid format. Some speakers will be speaking online, some speakers will be speaking online, and I just want to make sure and cover it with my voice. We have simultaneous interpretation. Please, if you have joined us and some foreign colleagues don't speak
you could choose
Ukrainian
interpretation. We have this. You need to click on globe sign and you could choose English language. І всі, хто приєднався українською, відповідно,
everyone who participates in Ukrainian, whenever the speakers speak in English, you can choose Ukrainian.
Я пропоную починати. І я точно хочу, пані Оксана, вас
Let's get started. And I want to assure you, dear Oksana, that we used 1.0 because we know the topic of the next conference. Indeed, that was done with a purpose, because that is a scientific conference that can help us improve mediation in education processes. And today, that is our first conference 1.0, and we will dive deep into where we are now, what initiatives we have, what is implemented already, and we will exchange this experience and inspire one another. Because we have a lot of developments in the area of mediation in Ukraine and in universities too, because universities play an important role, because it is our future. It's new people who will be joining the profession and understand that this is mediation, the tool for settling disputes. The first person I want to give the floor to is Virgilijus Valancius, who is a former judge of the EU General Court, senior international expert on EU integration from EU project Pravo-Justice. The floor is yours, dear Virgilijus. Good morning, can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you all good. Dear colleagues, dear friends, today it's the fourth event that I attend in the Tsymbrivska University in Tsymbrivska this year. All of them were related with mediation. I guess I'll not have intensity that more people say that Tsymbrivska University is one of the hubs on teaching mediation. If I'm not mistaken, students here in Tsymbrivska
вивчають техніку медіації як на рівні бакалавра, так і на рівні
get information and learn techniques in mediation as bachelors and masters in both areas. Conflicts amongst people have been there, are there, and will be there. It was considered that the first something like a court began appearing in the third millennium before Christ. Since then, the court judgments, whatever name we give it, however we call it, has the same idea. Someone else, the third party, takes a decision concerning us. And the history of the settlement of dispute is quite rich. In some periods, it was quite amicable, and sometimes it was that depending on what you did, you could have lost your head, eye, ear, or hand. Therefore, starting from the third millennium of our era, we can see the changes in the paradigm of the settlement of conflicts. A huge focus is put on involving conflicting parties to the settlement of their dispute, to give them an opportunity to the parties to the conflict reach consensus in this regard, in this thing. When Plato and others in the ancient world spoke about consensus, they meant to say a much wider spectrum, that is consensus as a joint opinion in the society. However, in the context of mediation, it is important both individual and wider notion of consent. As I sometimes say, so-called social peace in the society. Dear ladies and gentlemen, throughout the last 25 years, we have been living in the era of institutional promotion of mediation in Europe, where the Council of Europe and the European Union play a pivotal role. Right now, Ukraine is going through intensive dialogue with the European Commission concerning accession to the European Union, and using mediation as an alternative way of settling dispute is on the agenda of the bilateral meetings, because this is going to be included in the roadmap on joining to the EU for Ukraine as well. Why am I saying this? Does it have a connection with today's event, mediation and universities? Why are the universities under an obligation to take care of mediation? It is a quite direct link. The development of alternative and pre-trial conciliation mechanisms has the future in Ukraine too, and you know that. You know, as we know, the draft strategy for the development of justice and constitutional justice for 2025-2030, it's also mentioned there as well. Therefore, in the country, there is going to be a demand for mediators. We need to teach future professionals as mediators. In many spheres, we need to do it today. We heard that the online events are not only for legal universities. So we heard that a lot of universities stepped in to organize this event today, from trade and economy, etc. Why do I start with conflicts? Why did I start with conflicts? What I see, what I don't see. I don't see any major reason for over the midterm, long-term, or short-term perspectives to have less conflicts among some persons, private persons, and the government, etc. I don't think that the AI will bring a magic wand. I tell my students that you have at least minimum opportunity to avoid dispute in court. Use it. Because of judicial overload, etc.
Тому що знаю, наскільки напруженим і болісним є постати перед суддею. У більшості випадків лише один раз в житті. Звичайно, я не маю на увазі інституційних позивачів. І я знаю це.
I mean institutional claimants. I know this from my 40-year experience. Pravo-Justice, among other things, which is connected to the integration, does popularization of mediation in Ukraine, including mediation in the administrative jurisdiction. What we have noticed during round meetings held this year in different regions of Ukraine, administrative court judges who have gone through some certain training on mediation quite favorably treat using this in practice. Despite the fact that Ukraine does not have a clear legal base for judges to the mediation, some certain positive outcomes are there for the taking. For example, taking part by judges, as you know, between mediation and there is just little difference, mediation and conciliation. Quite to the contrary, as we have noticed, the representatives of the government, state governance, the subjects of the government, powers, staffed lawyers, they had some reluctance towards mediation, despite the fact that for that there is some legal base for that. Law on mediation. Next week we are going to have a small anniversary. We're going to introduce a comment which was made by Luiza together with colleagues on mediation. And also there is law about administrative procedures from December 2023. there is in certain legislation the reasons of the absence of the enthusiasm. What I mean is the representatives of power are different. They're both objective and subjective ones. Among other things, absence of know-how. What I mean, training of mediation. That's why I see the reasons to include some credits on mediation also for legal students, advocates, judges, staff, lawyers. They have to have at least a minimal knowledge and understanding of techniques of mediation. Really, in order to help parties in sorting out the conflicts, sometimes not just legal knowledge is mandatory, but other knowledge as well. Mediators, however, also need to have some basic mediation knowledge, and it would be beneficial. Mediators should be trained, be patient, calm, active when it's necessary, determined and positive. They have to have knowledge how to get adjusted to the specific situations and to understand the gender, religious, cultural differences, peculiarities connected with the adult and minor ones. Also necessary to communicate, to have communicative skills, correct articulations of language, relevant rhetorics, determination. It should not be tabula rasa for them. Should mediators who give their services in the sphere of with a legal outcome and consequences, should they know the national law? My answer to the question will be yes, affirmative. That's why celibacy, there should be some right things. Should students of mediation know about the judges in Italy, Bulgaria, Romania, who lobby for some limitations of mediation? Should the mediator know about the recent practice in the European Court of Justice, for example, Menini and Rampanelli, or the most recent case of Invest Capital, the 3rd of September 2024, which ensures quite comfortable formation approach. Having said that, this knowledge will definitely not be harmful. I know that a good mediator must have not only cognitive and communicative skills, as I said earlier, but also to be able to listen to the parties of conflicts. Good mediator who eventually helps the parties to find and reach consensus on some important issues for them and sort out the conflict. They should say, I would like to reiterate, they need to have at least basic legal knowledge. And I'm saying for those universities, pedagogical universities, psychologists who also prepare, as far as I'm concerned, who are getting ready to receive some basic skills and knowledge. I don't know about things now, but when I learned law, lawyers didn't go through psychological training. We all received this training later on. We only learned it as judges training, while sorting out the parts between the litigation parties. We only received the knowledge in the course of practice. As I just said earlier, through the process, which is called learning by doing. When I see now that in Chernivedsky University, get bachelors and masters who get training there, who learn how the training of mediation, I see that we're making some progress, and our students today, they are receiving knowledge that we didn't receive back then when we were students. That's what should be taken into consideration in terms of future mediations. I appreciate your attention very much. Thank you, Mr. Vergilius, and a special thanks for your Ukrainian language. That was a huge, impressive thing for making your speech in Ukrainian. That was very valuable. That makes a huge difference. And I would like to say that you have pinpointed the main points with the necessity and importance. We have to ensure that we provide